There we go. Hey there. So, as I sit here in my place, I've been thinking about, some relationship issues. And it was somebody that I spoke to very recently that made me want to think about these things. Uh, and she's also the person who bought me that. Well, actually, she bought me a case. This is not yet from the case she bought me. I still have another case that I haven't finished yet. But anyway, here's what I was thinking about. And I'm not going to tell you anybody's name. I'm going to tell you about a few relationships I've had, but I'm not going to mention any names. So, anyway, I dated a certain woman from 1990 to 1994, from the time I was 21 to the time I was 25. She passed away in 94. But anyway, this particular woman, uh, she was 8.5 years older than me. So, when I was 21, she was 29. When I was 25, she was 33. She died about a month before her 34th birthday. She was a petite woman, 5'2". She fluctuated between 95 and 105 pounds over the time that I've known her. But she wouldn't stop drinking. And of course, here I am drinking 27 years after her death. So I obviously do it in moderation. She did not. She had told me on a number of occasions that if I stopped smoking cigarettes, she would stop drinking. Okay. I'm not sure that she really meant it. I think she kind of knew that I wasn't going to stop smoking cigarettes. I actually still smoke cigarettes. I have one left right now, sitting a couple yards away. But anyway, we had a very good relationship. We were together for 4 years, and part of what made our relationship as good as it was the fact that she had never seen her father throughout her entire life. She told me that her father left when she was eight months old. I had told her about having been abused and how that my birth mother fractured my skull when I was 8 months old. And she had actually changed her story slightly, ever so slightly, to line up with my story and make it seem as though we both went through something traumatic at 8 months old. After Joyce died, I gave her name. Okay, well, I said it now. But after she died, I spoke with her mother, and her mother said to me, no, her father didn't leave when she was 8 months old. Her father left 6 weeks before she was born. She's the youngest of 7 children, and her father left 6 weeks before she was born, but she had altered her story just a bit to align with my story of having been abused as a baby and having had my skull fractured at 8 months old. But she mentioned it to me a number of times over 4 years that her father left, supposedly when she was 8 months old, but left early in her life anyway. Turns out he left while she was still in the womb. But she did mention that several times, and I knew that it was something that was heavy on her mind, and that just kind of defined her emotional state. And so part of what made our relationship as good as it was that I just had the natural tendency to become something of a father figure. I do tend to be the intellectual type, who thinks deeply and who likes to convey his deep thoughts, and so I didn't even really have to work at it. Just my natural tendencies made me something of a father figure to her, uh, and she would sometimes act in an obnoxious way, and I wasn't one to beat her. I wasn't one to beat any girlfriend that I've ever had, or my ex-wife for that matter. And so what I did come up with though was this idea of doing something that my mother actually used to do. I don't consider myself to be a mama's boy, but what I did was on occasions I would hug her with one arm, and then with the other arm I'd reach back and whack her booty a couple times, and if she was acting obnoxiously, and that's something that my mother actually used to do after we'd had a major argument. When I went to kiss her goodnight, that was a family rule. You always kiss mom goodnight. There was one or two times in my childhood that I was upset with her so much that I decided to go to bed without kissing her goodnight. And she came to my room and found me and said, "Eric, oh, you're in bed. You didn't kiss me goodnight. No matter how upset you are with me, you never go to bed without kissing mommy goodnight." But anyway, when she and I had an argument, then when I went to kiss her goodnight, she might hug me with one arm, reach back with the other, uh, give me a couple love taps on my butt while she gave me that final admonishment. But anyway, I started doing that with Joyce. And anyway, that's just kind of one of the, I guess you might say, fatherly or parental things that I did with her, and there were times that I would explain my beliefs about this, that, or the other issue and make sure that she understood, and yeah, so I think that just my natural tendencies made her feel like, okay, he's that father figure that I want. And our relationship lasted from the time that we met until pretty much the time that she died. Okay, but anyway, so that was 90 to 94. In 2002, um, I met a woman who I ended up marrying. I was doing migrant farm work at the time. I had gotten on this farm crew in Florida, where I lived for 20 years. And then we traveled up to North Carolina, where we went to a state farm in Benson. Was it Benson? But I know it was not far from Morehead City. But not far from Morehead City, North Carolina. We worked on a state farm. We were staying in a hotel in Morehead City. That's where I met my now ex-wife. She turned out to be 7 years older than me, versus my the girlfriend I told you about, whose name I gave anyway. Her name is Joyce. Uh, Joyce, like I say, was 8.5 years older than me. Now the ex-wife, whose name I'm not going to give you, is 7 years older than me, and so I met my now ex-wife while I was doing this migrant farm work. And let me look at my, oh darn it, oh there it is. And so she she and I dated for about 6 weeks. I had to move into her place, even though she was in HUD housing, because the farm crew was leaving and going to a different location. And 5 weeks after we got married, it fell apart. I had a 4-day weekend. Right now, I'm actually in the middle of a 5-day weekend. Uh, Normally, people have a 4-day weekend on Thanksgiving, Thursday through Sunday. On my job, because I do event rentals and things are slower in the cold weather, tents, tables, chairs, porta potties, things you'd use for outdoor events. People aren't really renting those things in the cool weather. Uh, they still need the porta potties, but everybody's hours were cut back, and we were given all Wednesdays off. Um, and then when you factor in the 4-day Thanksgiving weekend, that makes it a 5-day weekend for me. But anyway, there you have it. So I had a 4-day weekend on Labor Day in 2002 because I already was working 4 10-hour shifts Monday through Thursday. I already had Friday off on this job that I worked in Morehead City, North Carolina. And so with Labor Day being a 3-day weekend, and with me already having every Friday off, I now had 4 days. And on that final day, on that fourth day, on Labor Day of 2002, my now ex-wife and I got into a major argument. And it was our only argument, actually. We dated for 6 weeks. I had moved into her place, and I was sneaking around because I didn't yet have an ID. I had to travel from North Carolina back to Florida to replace my ID because I was in the system in Florida, the DMV system. And I went back to North Carolina, and she and I got married. And 5 weeks later, on Labor Day, we had this major argument, and I got really loud, and the neighbors heard, and the neighbors called the cops. And when the cops showed up, they asked her, did he hit you? And she said no, I had not hit her. And the cops did tell me, if she even says you hit her, we'd have to arrest you. Whether it's true or not, if she says it, we have to arrest you. But she said he did not hit me. But then she came back a minute or two later, and she told him, hey, look, we were in bed, and he rolls over and he elbows me in the back, and moments later he does it again, rolls over and elbows me in the back a second time. And the cops asked her, how long ago was that? And she told them honestly, it had been about 2 weeks, And so then the cops just kind of blew it off, it's 2 weeks ago. And it is true that, well, I guess it's true. I can't really attest to it. I was sleeping. But she woke me up one night and said, the first time you rolled over and elbowed me in the back, I didn't wake you up. The second time, I woke you up, okay? And she learned that she had to sleep in my arms to keep me from rolling around so much while I sleep, And so for any of you women out there who I might end up dating, well, you gotta sleep in my arms so I don't accidentally roll over and elbow you in the back, okay? Or anywhere on your body for that matter. But anyway, so that did end, but she was a bit of an emotional wreck, dealing with a lot of familial issues. She didn't get along well with her mother. Her mother was still living at the time. I don't know what the deal is now, but and so while I was with her, I helped her navigate those things. But anyway, she was 7 years older than me. And see, so I'm trying to get this all into one 25-minute video, and I'm already almost at 15 minutes. So then there's this woman that I currently know. I have not expressed an interest in her. I've known her for probably close to 10 years now. Uh, she is 10 years older than me almost to the day. So both of our birthdays are in February. Mine is the 15th, hers is the 27th. And so I do have a lot of love for her, and I do know some things about her past experiences, and not an awful lot, but I do know some things about her past experiences, and I do know very well, just how she rolls, what type of person she is. I've known her for almost 10 years. Uh, we haven't talked about dating. We haven't talked about being FWBs, friends with benefits. Uh, that hasn't even come into the conversation. We're not touchy feely, not in a big way. We do sometimes hug, kiss on the cheek uh, as we part, but nothing beyond that. But she does have a personality that I can really work with. If I understand a woman's where she's coming from emotionally, and I can reason the matter out, then it's cool with me. I'm not completely against emotion. There are some applications of it that I'm against, but I'm not completely against emotion. And if I can understand where the woman's coming from, like I understood Joyce having never seen her father for her entire life. She lived and died at 34 years old, having never seen her father. Uh, Her 6 older siblings had all seen her father, but she had not. And so, if I can pinpoint what it is that you're highly emotional about, and I can reason the matter out, and I can say, okay, well, this is how I can deal with this woman. This is how I can foster a good relationship with her. Then cool, I'm okay with that. But anyway, so there's that. So there's this fourth woman who a few months ago invited me to a certain event, and I've been familiar with this woman for several years, maybe 3, and this woman actually sets up events. So I do event rentals, tents, tables, chairs, porta potties, and the like. Uh, Sound equipment, what have you. But anyway, um, this woman here, she arranges some indoor dance events, some outdoor dance events, and I had not actually had a dating interest in her. I mean, she was someone who, it's like, if it happens, it happens. I mean, she's cool. She looks nice. She's a nice person, and I would definitely give her the time of day. She was not at all unattractive, not physically, not personality wise, but I just never made a move, and I actually thought she was younger than she is, and I'm not really into dating women who are too much younger than me. I mean, I'm 52, so legally I can go down 34 years to 18 uh, without any legal issues. But I'm not trying to go down that far. I mean, I don't see myself as having an interest in anyone under 40 years old. Uh, it's not just about how you look. It's not just about how good the sex is. If your mind is not strong enough, uh, you don't have enough life experiences to where I can really relate to you, then no, I'm really not trying to be bothered with you. I'm not trying to raise a daughter who's fronting as a girlfriend. Okay, uh, but anyway, turns out she's older than I thought she was, and I had never dismissed her as being too young and immature. But I did think she was at least 10 years younger than she actually is. Turns out she's in her mid 40s. Uh, and I had always seen her at these dance events and had a little bit of small talk here and there, but never anything deep. And then all of a sudden, she invites me to this other event that's not a dance event. It's a serious event where we were talking about a serious issue, and the issue was being videotaped. The conversation was being videotaped, and but as people were filing in for that videotaped event, that videotaped conversation, I should say, uh, she and I had probably about 15, 20 minutes to just talk one to one. And I was like, wow, first of all, she's a little older than I thought she was. Secondly, uh, she, I'm really enjoying our serious conversation, and I'm learning some things about her, and I just enjoyed the fact that we were able to have a meaningful conversation for those 15 or 20 minutes, not being in the middle of a lot of loud music where it's hard to hear each other, not just having a 2 or 3 minute conversation, but actually just having taken enough time to really get to know each other, or to begin to get to know each other anyway, and I thought to myself, wow, I've known her for a few years now, or known of her, been acquainted with her for maybe 3 years now, and here I finally have a chance to really get a true sense of what manner of woman she is, and I like it, and even though she's a few years younger than me, I still like what I saw, but she still has nothing on the older women. And so, let me check something real fast. Okay, here we go. And so that brings me to the final woman, number 5. Now, this woman I've known for close to 10 years. I've been acquainted with for close to 10 years. She's a friend of a male friend of mine. And like woman number 4, she's someone who I'd always met in a festive environment, not necessarily dancing, but more of an environment where there are 4 or 5 guys hanging out together, and she happens to be among them because she is a longtime friend of one of those guys, and so we're just having fun, talking shit, and then all of a sudden, um, I had an occasion where she and I just ended up talking one to one, and I saw things in her that I really liked. But she is about 8 years older than me. I'm 52. She's, like I say, almost 8 years older, and I did learn that there were some failed relationships, and she's not in a relationship right now, and she's not looking for relationship, but just not just that issue, but just her whole overall person. Uh, she's like gold, and just her level of knowledge, she's like gold, and but she and I kind of wish that she cared for another relationship, another try. Uh, I did ask her what drew her to the men that she previously had relationships with. Uh, I was looking to see what she would say about their way of thinking and their personalities, what the commonality was. She didn't answer that question, at least not the one that I had intended to ask. But she did tell me that she wasn't physically attracted to any of them, which kind of leaves me to wonder, if I have hope. I think she was telling me that I have hope because I'm not this great looking guy. Um, but anyway, I was hoping to keep this into one video, and maybe I'll be able to do that. But my phone tends to splice or cut the video at a certain point. But anyway, since that conversation with her, I thought about a number of things. So she's postmenopausal, and I thought about the Vagina Monologues. I didn't actually see the play, the Vagina Monologues. I did look it up on Google to see what it was about, and I got a Wikipedia entry which explained what the Vagina Monologues were all about. Yeah, that these several different women, they each take turns sitting on this stool and talking about different aspects of vaginal experiences. One talks about childbirth, one talks about menstruation, one talks about rape, and on and on. Okay, anyway, I bring that up because after I spoke to this very cute uh, postmenopausal woman, it occurred to me that, you know, if life goes well and, marriage goes well, then what happens is you meet your life mate maybe around the age of 20, give or take, and you end up building a family together, and from your 20-ish birthday on up to your 50-ish birthday,